So, welcome. It is suggested that there's no one in this Zoom and that there's no Zoom and that there's nothing. All there is nothing. Not some black, empty void of emptiness where there's just, infinite, vast space, because that's just another idea, of course, that might be conceptualized from an apparent subjective perspective. No, nothing is nothing at all. It means that it doesn't mean anything, actually. It's incomprehensible. There is nothing to nothing. It can't be conceived, comprehended, can't be held onto in any which way at all. It's not some sort of fancy mystical idea. It's just simply nothing, nothing at all. And that is all there is. Nothing. It's all there is because it's everything. Everything that's appearing, despite how substantial and solid and real it may seem to be, even the sense of those things are and is nothing apparently happening. So substance, insubstance, realness, unrealness, illusory, it's all nothing. There's just no thing appearing to happen. The body, sensation, thought, perceptions, it's all nothing. And there's no real space in that or out of that. There's no space at all. There's no real space. So the sense of a position is a total illusion. The sense of being here, this here is is illusory. It's almost like a simulation. There's no real here, there's no real there, there's no real space. And there's no real time either. So the felt sense of here and the felt sense of now are both illusory, because what else could there be other than what is? Memory, thought, idea is also what is. It's what appears. And time being just an apparent appearance of memories and thoughts, and space being an appearance of sight and sound, but not really, because there's no position outside of the dream. Everything is just totally alive and immediate. There's just immediate aliveness. There's no position in that. There's no separation. There's no real separation or localization. There's no real distance. As nothing being boundless and all there is, it can seem to be separate, but this is just simply illusory. It's simply illusory. So it can appear and it can even appear to feel real and separate, but this is not really separate or substantial. It just seems that way when there's this energy that feels localized to the human body. That's what seems to be. And so time, space, even the subject-object nature, which is the only way that consciousness seems to appear, because consciousness meaning knowing, it's the polarity of a subject being conscious of objects. This is also illusory. There's no real consciousness or awareness, much to the disagreements of what many people are saying nowadays. Consciousness, awareness, this requires subject-object. It requires knowing the distance for knowing to take place. And this is also an insubstantial dream. So when it's said that all there is consciousness, well, this doesn't really seem to match the non-separation of what is, because if all there is consciousness, then that sort of implies that it's conscious of something or even conscious of itself. But that would also imply that it would have to be distant from itself to be conscious of itself. So it can't be consciousness if it's just all there is and totally whole, boundless, and free. So it suggested that it's not consciousness, it's just simply boundless, radiant, alive energy that has no limitations or conditionality. Limitations and conditionality, too, are just simply appearances. So time, space, consciousness, experience, conditions, these are all just simply wonderfully empty, not real appearances. That's all. And by all of that being exposed, it's revealed that obviously there's no meaning to any of this because there's no direction. For there to be direction, space and time has to be real, has to be real in the sense of going in a direction this way or that way. So there's no meaning or purpose or significance or intention to any of this because it's not really coming from anywhere or going anywhere. It's non-linear. It's just again, totally immediately what is and isn't. And this is exposed, and in that way, it's actually totally intentionless. It's utterly meaningless to sit and listen to this, actually. It's utterly pointless, really. I mean, this is possibly the most pointless thing that could ever be said or heard because the exposure that all there is what is, and it's beyond direction, limitation, and conditionality. Well, it can't be anything else other than that. And even the sense that's not the case, or that this has to be going somewhere and coming from somewhere, well, even that is completeness or boundlessness or free unconditional radiant love beyond limitation. It's all there is, so that couldn't be made more whole or more free or less. It couldn't even be made more obvious, really. It just is already complete. It's already done. And by being unconditionally done, therefore there's nothing to get. There's no progress to be made. Even the story that I might progress towards my own absence so that wholeness may become more clear. Well, this is just another dream, another story that this might lead to enlightenment or liberation. But there is only liberation. So even the sense that I'm not enlightened yet, or whatever nonsensical stories might appear. That's also wholeness. So this is without agenda, without meaning, and it's also without preference, without judgment, because it's all freedom. It's all freedom. So there's no desired outcome in that respect, and therefore there's no intention. And interestingly, an exposure like that can seem to assist a falling of beliefs and certain opinions and views and values that might be seeming to be very important. There can even seem to be an energy that is seemingly felt, but that's not progress. The energy is beyond progress, process, direction, moving this way or that way. And it's totally beyond the words and the speech, and it's totally beyond the silence in between as well. It's undefinable, indescribable, incomprehensible, ungraspable thisness. Can you say some more about the energy? So energy is all there is. Energy without source. It's just all there is. It's boundless, it's free, it's unconditional, it's totally limitless. That's what's suggested. It's formless forming. So anything that appears, anything at all, everything that is, nothing at all, energy. And that energy is empty too, yes. So there is only emptiness and there is only fullness. So it's a paradox. It's a paradox. You may recall in the Heart Sutra, if you've ever came anywhere near Buddhism, form is emptiness, emptiness is form. There is only the formless forming, empty formless, nothing, everything. Doesn't make sense, but it's all there is. Would you speak about truth? So there is no truth and there is no falsity. All there is what is. It's simply beyond the polarity of knowledge. It's beyond the polarity of right and wrong, true and false. There's no true and false outside of the dream. There's just spontaneity and immediacy. So something that seems to be about truth is that it requires a distance again. Like this is true, but all truth seems to be relative, you know? And there's no real relativity. Relativity is absolute. So truth and falsity is nothing and everything. There is only what is. It's beyond polarity and duality and includes the appearances, the illusory appearances and the empty appearances. It's all nothing. Truth is not the same as certainty. You sound certain. So, yeah, this might sound quite certain and assured. Um, it's really just sort of spontaneously uttering itself. So a question comes, someone speaks, and then there's just a spontaneous response to that. But you know, this isn't the truth, and it's not false either. So what can happen is people come across this and hear it as some sort of intellectual or philosophical knowledge or even wisdom or something, and they try and debate with it. They try and argue their way to potentially prove it wrong, and it's just not dealing in that illusory circle of a position about knowing something. The concepts of nothing, everything, emptiness, and all that might sound very intellectual, conceptual, and philosophical, but it's beyond any sort of position or knowledge at all. Um, and 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 it's immediate as well. It's just totally immediate. And it's not known yet. It's just somehow obvious. It's not that the concept is obvious, but there is just obviousness. The obviousness of the simple abundance of what is and isn't. And so this utterance may sound like self-assured and certain and confident and all that, but these are also just appearances which don't matter or mean anything.
Hi, Alexis.
Hello.
Hi. So this response that you just uttered was like a response to my question I was about to ask. So my question was like if this communication or message is a sort of channeling, so to speak, but you said it's like a more like a spontaneous, immediate uttering, and you're not even knowing what you are actually saying, so to speak.
No, there's no one behind the words. Yeah, they're speaking. It's
Yeah.
yeah, there's nothing speaking. And there's
This
no,
is amazing. Yes, that's quite a amazing thing somehow. Yes. It's like I
yeah,
cannot imagine that. I cannot imagine that. It's unimaginable. Yeah.
yes, totally unimaginable, undefinable, ungraspable, incomprehensible,
Yeah.
unconditional aliveness.
Wow.
And how could that be all happening by its non-self? It's extraordinary.
Yes.
And yet it is what is and isn't.
And it has somehow, it's in a way, I don't know if the word is the right word. It's like a flabbergasting. It's flabbergasting to hear. Somehow it's flabbergasting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good word for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Flabbergasting isness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, and somehow or other, it could be like 8 in the morning or like 4 in the morning or midnight or whatever. But when it's shared, it's regardless of what the hell is happening, it's so passionately alive.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yes, yes, that's the uncompromising nature. It's like not compromising. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's beautiful in a way. I like that so much. Yeah. Somehow it doesn't take care. Yeah.
Hmm. Yes, it's unfiltered, it's raw, it's uncompromising because there's no position, there's no relating, there's no anything other than what is immediately appearing. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's no, it has also let's say no schedule, no time frame. Like, yeah, it can, so to speak, come out in every moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't say, oh, now it's like 10 a.m. and now is the right time, so to speak. It's
Yeah.
just,
No time.
yeah.
Yeah. No time. It's timelessly, immediately, radically alive. And
Haha. Yeah. Aw. Much love.
much love, Laura. So if you can't really ever play hide and seek again, no, it's a futile act. Well, seeking and hiding happens until it apparently doesn't. There's no choice to be made. There's no one behind any apparent action, thought, or speech. It's all empty. And seeking happens apparently, and then it doesn't. Apparently, then there's no then or now. Even when the body has apparently been exposed to the futility of going after a gratified object in a not real future, the tendency will still go on if there's this apparent contracted energy. That's the way it seems to play out. So there may be a conceptual understanding of that there's no one and no time and no space and all the rest of it. But if that illusory, despite being illusory, contracted energy is stubbornly persistent in the body, the seeking will go on. The contracted energy is seeking. There's no real difference. A seeker can't not seek, and there's no one in that. And even the attempt to stop seeking would just obviously be another seeking story. This so-called message, it is immediately life and at the same moment death. Yes. Yeah. It seems as though life and death both totally melt and collapse into aliveness, which is beyond polarity of living, dying, life and death. There is simply aliveness. free of any limitations or conditionality. No one and nothing in that. Just aliveness all by itself, radiant and alive, pure. Deathness, yeah. Or deathless. Yeah. Deafness, deathless, aliveness. Of course, words never really seem to touch on that. If there is any, what is the function of putting questions in these messages? So there's no function, point, or meaning to anything. But what might be seeming to happen is an attempt to get some information or knowledge. And there may be a curiosity. There may simply be the enjoyment of asking something and hearing something. Um, there can't really be any assumptions being made, but you know, there may be the seeking to get closer, like relating to what is as though it's at a distance from me. And if I ask something and get an appropriate or satisfying answer, this what is that's being talked about may become more apparent and obvious. In other words, the question and answer situation may be another attempt to get something or somewhere. It's all divinely futile. There's no point in asking questions, and there's no point in not asking questions. Whatever happens is equally boundlessly free, beyond direction. And there's no progress. There's no what's the word, weighing up, or there's no pie charts or graphs or anything as to show a bunch of people who are closer or further, because there's just no distance. It's anarchy.
Hi, Alexis.
Hello.
Sometimes you say that the me is only a problem for the me
That,
somehow.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And there is just a thought of does that mean that somehow a sense of me could still arise, but it's just seen that it's illusory?
Well, it doesn't see itself as illusory.
No, but
There may be a conceptual understanding, but that's not the same as seeing. Seeing in this way is misleading. I mean, no one really, you know, sometimes speakers and teachers might say when it's seen. This is it's a very misleading term, really, to see non-separation, or you know, who's going to see non-separation? You know what I mean? So there's no
hmm,
seeing in that. There's just the total collapse and death of that which isn't really happening. It may seem to wobble, and it may seem to fade and thin, like, but
hmm,
that's another story because there are no real dimensions to this. But it may seem to weaken, and then it may seem to be less of a problem, you know, deemed by the nervous system and the brain and the body, and everything might just seem to be a bit more simple and relaxed. There may still be residue of like
hmm.
of contracted energy, localization, separation. There may even be residue of a sense of autonomy. But it seems like that would be less of seen to be less of a problem when this energy is not so sort of tight, visceral.
Okay. And I was thinking this thing of immediacy. There is just then that there is so like waking up, let's say, happens, and then da this. So there isn't really like a an idea of like, you know, oh, I'm going to do that today and it's going to be the same as yesterday, you know, like that, because the me has that idea of repetition almost, isn't it? Oh, like, you know, I went there yesterday, saw that person, and today it's going to be kind of the same. I'm going to see that person. She's like that, or he's like that.
Mm.
And that completely collapses.
Mm. Yeah, the whole dialogue collapses. Yeah.
Can there still a thought can still arise though, like, but then it kind of just
Yeah. Planning might still happen, like planning the day if the conditioning of the body, the character, whatever, has a nature to be busy and structured and organized. Yeah, planning may still happen. That goes on effortlessly and free flow already. It's just not accompanied with the dialogue and the shoulds and the shouldn'ts and the you know the sort of cluttered stuff of trying to figure it all out and the conversation that seems to take place. This all falls apart. But planning, thinking, ideas, memories, this goes on apparently, seems to.
thank you.
Hmm. And in all of that, like the dialogue and the contracted energy, the sense of localization, the seeking energy, in all of that, there is actually no me already. Me is like seemingly a concept of all of those illusory things. So you call this like the story, and you might even say the preferences, the conditioning, the mannerisms, and the stories, and the localized energy and the seeking energy, like all of that as a package is me. But as though it could be broken down, there's just no me in any of that. It's all chaos. It's like a tornado, and at the center, the non-center of the tornado is nothing. There's nothing there. There's nothing. There's not even a there. It's a divine magic trick, meaningless as well. Wonderful. Saying it's a divine magic trick is a concept, and by that a trick. Yeah, so concepts may appear, they are also meaningless and empty. It seems sort of magic because it's like it just appears out of nothing and is nothing. And then it's gone and apparently gone, and even the sense of gone is just seemingly nothing. It's just amazing. All there is. All emptiness, yeah. Could one say even psychedelic use is only ever this? There is only this. There's nothing other than this. This is all there is. Using psychedelics or other or intoxicants, going after situations of a promiscuous nature. Everything is this. There is only this. And there are no dimensions to that. They're just appearances. It may all seem wonderful, and these experiences may seem to offer some insight, clarity, vast, expansive states. It's all wonderfully meaningless. And there's no condoning or condemning any of that. It's all what is. Wanting an outcome is pretty story time. Yeah.
Ah, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, wanting an outcome, desired outcome is also this. There is no outcome, no destination, no conclusion. No one. Yeah.
Alexis? when but what I cannot help is see, for example, I have here flowers, and whatever like somehow is through the form of nature, I feel it's like almost genius. But what is created, let's say through the human form, seems to be like overly simplified and less complex and less there is a difference. I feel what happens through the human form, so to speak, and what it happens through the non-human form. So
Hmm.
yeah. And but what I can also see is that there seems to be enough space somehow for the human form to express exactly the way it does. Um, but I would say there is something different. We always think that our brains are so sophisticated and that we have somehow evolved. But what I can see is like in plants or animals or whatever, is like it seems to be to me way more genius than and way more whatever creative than what happens through our so-called sophisticated brains, so to speak.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's a concept that appears out of the nature of differentiation.
Mm.
There's no real difference or sameness. There's only immediately what is and isn't, and it doesn't belong to anyone or anything. There's no real difference between anything. There's no real sameness between anything. There's no between. So
Mm.
there's nature. That's it.
Oh.
And nature is a flower, and it's a tree, and it's a star, and it's empty. There's matter, particles, and there's human bodies and other animal bodies, brains, nervous systems, even ideas, concepts. It's all nothingness. Yeah. There's almost an inclination to say it's all the same nothingness, but again, no sameness,
Mm.
no difference. And as that appears the idea that there's a difference.
Yeah.
All of that appearing as an idea that there's a difference between a flower and a human brain, or or Shakespeare's art, or like whatever, like that also is nothing appearing as an idea about differentiation.
Wow. Yeah.
Singular immediacy. Yeah.
Mm.
And you
Mm.
could say that there's the appearance of an intelligence, but it's not an intelligence behind so-called creation. There's
Mhm.
nothing running it. Yeah. Singular immediacy, no behind, in front, above or below, inside or outside. No dimensions whatsoever.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Other dimensions would be better and worse, of course, because there may be stories that the human physiology is more sophisticated and intelligent, and there may also be the story that animals and nature are more intelligent, and all of that's bullshit. Yeah, emptiness, intelligencing. Yeah. Intelligence simply being another apparent appearance of nothing. Complexity and simplicity. It's all nothing. But emptiness is not the same as intelligence. Well, there is only emptiness. There's only nothing. And that's all there is. Intelligence in this way is being used as an appearance. The appearance of, a flower, for example, growing and producing certain things, and then the bee that comes and pollinates and whatever else. There's the appearance, you could say, the appearance of an intelligence, but that might seem to suggest that there's a separate subject behind the creating of that, which is another story. There is only nothing. Or, particles and neutrons and electrons and the gathering of a momentum and stars and all the rest of it, new elements, periodic table, and then the gathering of atmospheres and planets orbiting. It's like it all seems very complex and intelligent in a way, but perhaps that's just a meaningless story because that's only someone saying that it's intelligent, which is subjective and objective. If that's the way in which intelligence is being used, then that's just an illusory story. It's all nothing appearing to happen without any agenda, meaning, purpose, or intention at all. Makes me laugh, but I don't even know why. Yes, there can be something tremendously hysterical about all of this. That joy is the glue of the universe. That's very cute. But there's no binding because there's no real separation. There's just simply joy. And also then there's anger, not then. There's anger, there's joy, pain, sorrow, fear, sensation. There is only immediate, alive isness and isn't-ness. No distinction, just this. Hmm. I prefer unconditional love. Perfect lover, yeah. Yeah, lovely. So there is only that. There is only unconditional love. There is only unconditional freedom. There is only unconditional aliveness. And that's all there is. And so those words are what is, and any other words are what is. There's just simply, totally, boundlessly what is and isn't. It's all there is. It can't be anything other than what is, and what also appears is what is. There is only what is. An idea that something else, somewhere else, somewhere else. But this is all it. There is only what is. It's just immediately, timelessly this. No better, no worse, no direction, no mistakes, no judgment. Judgment mistakes too is this, but only apparently. Timeless, immediate, directionless thisness. And that's unconditional, unlimited, boundless freedom, which is all there is, and that's simply what's longed for. Everything, including the looking for it. Much love.
Thank you.